John Hammond and his bioengineering company InGen have created a theme park called Jurassic Park on Isla Nublar, a Costa Rican island populated with cloned dinosaurs. After one of the dinosaur handlers is killed by a velociraptor, the park's investors, represented by lawyer Donald Gennaro, demand that experts visit the park and certify it as safe. Gennaro invites mathematician and chaos theorist Ian Malcolm, while Hammond invites paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant and paleobotanist Dr. Ellie Sattler. Upon arrival, the group is stunned to see a live Brachiosaurus. At the park's visitor center, the group learns that the cloning was accomplished by extracting dinosaur DNA from mosquitoes that has been preserved in amber. DNA from frogs was used to fill in gaps in the dinosaur genomes. To prevent breeding, all the dinosaurs were made female. Malcolm scoffs at the idea of such controlled breeding, declaring it will inevitably break down. The crew witness the birth of a baby raptor and visit the raptor enclosure. During a luncheon, the group debates the ethics of cloning and the creation of the park, with Dr. Malcolm giving a harsh warning about the implications of genetic engineering as a whole. The group is then joined by Hammond's grandchildren, Lex and Tim Murphy, for a tour of the park, while Hammond oversees the trip from the park's control room. The tour does not go as planned, with most of the dinosaurs failing to appear and the group encountering a sick Triceratops. The tour is cut short as a tropical storm approaches Isla Nublar. Most of the park employees evacuate on a boat to the mainland, while the visitors return to their electric tour vehicles, except Sattler, who stays with the park's veterinarian to study the Triceratops. Jurassic Park's lead computer programmer, Dennis Nedry, has been bribed by Dodgson, a man working for Hammond's corporate rival, to steal valuable fertilized embryos. Nedry deactivates the park's security system to gain access to the embryo storage room, where he stores the embryos inside a canister disguised as Barbasol shaving cream, supplied by Dodgson. Because of Nedry, the power goes out and the tour vehicles become stuck. Most of the park's electric fences are deactivated as well, allowing the Tyrannosaurus to escape and attack the tour group. Grant, Lex, and Tim escape, while the Tyrannosaurus injures Malcolm and devours Gennaro. On his way to deliver the embryos to the island's docks, Nedry becomes lost in the rain, crashes his Jeep Wrangler, and is killed by a Dilophosaurus. Sattler assists the park's game warden, Robert Muldoon, in a search for survivors, but they only find an injured Malcolm before the Tyrannosaurus returns. Grant, Tim, and Lex take shelter in a treetop. Later, they discover the broken shells of dinosaur eggs. Grant concludes that the dinosaurs have been breeding, which occurred because of their frog DNA. West African bullfrogs can change their sex in a single-sex environment, allowing the dinosaurs to do so as well, proving Malcolm right. Unable to decipher Nedry's code to reactivate the security system, Hammond and the park's chief engineer Ray Arnold opt to reboot the entire park system. The group shuts down the park's grid and retreats to an emergency bunker, while Arnold heads to a maintenance shed to complete the rebooting process. When Arnold fails to return, Sattler and Muldoon head to the shed. They discover the shutdown has deactivated the remaining fences and released the raptors. Muldoon distracts the raptors, while Sattler goes to turn the power back on, before being attacked by a raptor and discovering Arnold's severed arm. Meanwhile, Muldoon is caught off guard and killed by the other two raptors. Grant, Tim, and Lex finally reach the visitor center. Grant heads out to look for Sattler, leaving Tim and Lex inside. Tim and Lex are pursued by the raptors in an industrial kitchen, but they escape and join Grant and Sattler. Lex restores full power from the control room, allowing the group to call Hammond, who in turn calls for help. The group is cornered by the raptors, but they are able to escape when the Tyrannosaurus suddenly appears and kills the raptors. Hammond arrives in a jeep with Malcolm, and the entire group boards a helicopter to leave the island. On Isla Sorna, an island off the Costa Rican coast, a young girl wanders around during a family vacation and survives an attack by a swarm of Comp Signathus. Her parents file a lawsuit against the genetics company InGen, now headed by John Hammond's nephew Peter Ludlow, who plans to use Isla Sorna to alleviate the financial losses imposed by the incident that occurred at Jurassic Park 4 years earlier. Mathematician Dr. Ian Malcolm meets Hammond at his mansion. Hammond explains that Isla Sorna, abandoned years earlier during a hurricane, is where InGen created their dinosaurs before moving them to Jurassic Park on Isla Nublar. Hammond hopes to stop InGen by sending a team to Isla Sorna to document the dinosaurs, thus causing public support against human interference on the island. Ian, who survived the Jurassic Park disaster, is reluctant. After learning that his girlfriend paleontologist Dr. Sarah Harding is part of the team and is already on Isla Sorna, Ian agrees to go to the island, but only to retrieve her. Ian meets his teammates, Eddie Carr, an equipment specialist and engineer, and Nick Van Owen, a video documentarian and activist. After arriving on the island, they locate Sarah and discover that Ian's daughter Kelly had stowed away in a trailer being used as a mobile base. They then watch as another InGen team, consisting of mercenaries, hunters, paleontologists, and Peter Ludlow, arrive to capture several dinosaurs. Meanwhile, team leader Roland Tembo, a big game hunter, hopes to capture a male Tyrannosaurus by luring it to the cries of its injured infant. That night, Ian's team sneak into the InGen camp and learn the captured dinosaurs will be brought to a newly proposed theme park in San Diego. This prompts Nick and Sarah to free the caged dinosaurs, wreaking havoc upon the camp. Nick also frees the infant T-Rex and takes it to the trailer to mend its broken leg. After securing Kelly with Eddie, Ian realizes the infant's parents are searching for it and rushes to the trailer. As soon as Ian arrives, the infant's parents emerge on both sides of the trailer. The infant is released to the adult T-Rexes, which then attack the trailer, pushing it over the edge of a nearby cliff. Eddie soon arrives, but as he tries to pull the trailer back over the edge with an SUV, the adult T-Rexes return and devour him. The trailer and the SUV plummet off the cliff. Ian, Sarah, and Nick are rescued by the InGen team, along with Kelly. With both groups' communications equipment and vehicles destroyed, they team up to search for the old InGen compound's radio station on foot. Dieter, a member of the InGen hunter team, is killed by a pack of Compsognathus. The next night, the two adult T-Rexes find the group's camp, as they had followed the infant's blood scent on Sarah's jacket. The female T-Rex chases the group to a waterfall cave and devours the hunter team's dinosaur expert, Dr. Robert Burke, while Roland tranquilizes the male. Much of the remaining InGen team is killed by velociraptors while fleeing through an elephant grass field. Nick runs ahead to the communications center at the InGen workers' village to call for rescue. After Ian, Sarah, and Kelly reach the village, they evade raptors until a helicopter arrives and transports them off the island. A freighter ship transports the male T-Rex to San Diego but crashes into the dock. After finding the ship's crew killed, a guard opens the cargo hold, accidentally releasing the T-Rex, which escapes into the city and goes on a destructive rampage. Ian and Sarah retrieve the infant T-Rex from InGen's unfinished Jurassic Park San Diego facility and use it to lure the adult back to the ship. Ludlow tries to intervene, but is trapped in the cargo hold by the adult T-Rex and is subsequently mauled to death by the infant. Before the adult can escape again, Sarah tranquilizes it while Ian closes the cargo hold doors. The T-Rexes are escorted back to Isla Sorna, and Hammond says that the American and Costa Rican governments have agreed to declare the island a nature preserve, securing the island from any human interference. While Ian sits safe at home with his family, the T-Rexes are seen grazing with their infant as Hammond affirms, life will find a way. Ben Hildebrand and 12-year-old Eric Kirby go parasailing around the waters of Isla Sorna. The boat crew mysteriously disappear in a brief moment obscured by fog, forcing Ben to detach the line. He and Eric drift towards the island. On the mainland, Dr. Alan Grant has become famous after his involvement at Jurassic Park, while Ellie Sattler is married to a State Department employee named Mark and has 2 children. Grant discusses with Sattler how raptors are far more intelligent than they had previously believed. At a dig site, Grant's assistant Billy Brennan demonstrates how he can use a 3D printer to replicate a velociraptor larynx. Paul and Amanda Kirby, an apparently wealthy couple, offer Grant funding for his research if he will give them an aerial tour of Isla Sorna. Grant is desperate for research funding and reluctantly agrees. He flies there with Paul, Amanda, Billy, and the Kirby's mercenary associates, Udesky, Cooper, and their pilot Nash. On the plane, Grant learns that the Kirbys actually plan to land on the island. When Grant opposes, he is knocked out by Cooper and wakes to discover they have landed. A Spinosaurus approaches the group, who board the plane to escape without waiting for Cooper. The Spinosaurus devours Cooper on the runway, and the plane crashes in the forest after hitting the dinosaur. Stranded on a treetop, Nash is also devoured by the dinosaur. Fleeing, the survivors briefly lose the Spinosaurus but encounter a Tyrannosaurus. The Spinosaurus returns, but the group escapes while the 2 dinosaurs fight each other, with the Spinosaurus winning by breaking the T-Rex's neck. Grant, demanding the truth from the Kirbys, learns they are actually a middle-class divorced couple who are looking for their son Eric and Amanda's boyfriend Ben, who have been missing on the island for 8 weeks. Later, the group finds the parasail with Ben's corpse attached. The group takes the parasail and then encounter raptor nests. They find an abandoned InGen compound, where they are chased by a raptor which eventually contacts the rest of its pack. The humans flee into a herd of Corythosaurus and Parasaurolophus, causing a stampede, separating Grant and Udesky from the others. Udesky is attacked by raptors, who leave him barely alive on the ground in an attempt to lure the others out of the tree they had climbed into. Amanda is nearly killed by the raptors when she tries to descend to help Udesky, and upon the failure of their trap, the raptors kill Udesky before departing. Elsewhere, Grant suspects that the raptors are searching for something while observing 2 of them communicating. He becomes cornered by the raptors, but is rescued by Eric, who managed to survive in an overturned water truck. The next day, Grant and Eric hear Paul's satellite phone ringing and are reunited with the Kirbys and Billy. Paul explains that he gave the phone to Nash before he was devoured. The group is then chased by the Spinosaurus, the source of the ringing phone. After the group escapes, Grant discovers Billy took 2 raptor eggs to use for funding, which provoked the raptor attacks. Grant decides to keep the eggs to ensure the group's survival. The group unknowingly enters a large aviary used to house pteranodons, which attack the group and fly away with Eric. Billy rescues Eric by using Ben's parasail, but is then attacked and seemingly killed by the pteranodons. The rest of the group escapes the aviary, unintentionally leaving the door unlocked. They make their way downriver using a boat. That night, the group retrieves the ringing phone, buried in the feces of the Spinosaurus. As rain falls, Grant tries to contact Sattler, but the Spinosaurus attacks the boat. Grant sets the boat's fuel on fire and burns the Spinosaurus, causing it to flee. The next day, the group makes their way towards the shoreline, but are surrounded by the raptors. The eggs are surrendered to the raptors, while Grant uses the replicated raptor larynx to confuse the pack, who run off with the eggs. The humans flee to the coast and find that Sattler had called in the US Marine Corps and the US Navy to rescue them. They discover that Billy, while seriously injured, is still alive and has also been rescued. As they leave the island, they see the pteranodons flying free, and Grant says they are looking for new grounds. Brothers Zach and Gray Mitchell visit Isla Nublar, the site of the original Jurassic Park, where a new theme park named Jurassic World has operated for years. Simon Masrani, the park's owner, has encouraged geneticist Dr. Henry Wu to create a hybrid dinosaur to attract visitors. The two boys meet their aunt, Claire Deering, the park's operations manager. Claire assigns her assistant Zara to be their guide, but the boys evade her and explore the resort on their own. Owen Grady, a Navy veteran, has been researching the intelligence of the park's 4 velociraptors. InGen Security Chief Vic Hoskins believes the raptors should be trained for military use despite objections from Owen and his assistant Barry. Masrani has Owen evaluate the enclosure of the park's new hybrid dinosaur, the Indominus Rex, before the attraction opens. Owen warns Claire about the danger of raising Indominus in isolation, pointing out its lack of socialization with other animals. When they discover that the Indominus seems to have escaped, Owen and 2 others enter the enclosure. Able to camouflage itself and mask its heat signature, the Indominus suddenly appears and devours Owen's companions before escaping into the island's interior. Owen suggests that the Indominus must be killed, but Masrani instead sends a specialized unit to capture it. After most of the unit is killed, Claire orders the evacuation of the island's northern sector. While exploring the park in a gyrosphere ride, Zach and Gray enter a restricted area. The Indominus arrives and destroys their sphere, but the boys manage to evade it and find the ruins of the original Jurassic Park Visitor Center. They repair an old 1992 Jeep Wrangler and drive it back to the park resort. Claire and Owen search for the boys, but encounter the Indominus and barely escape. Masrani and 2 troopers hunt the Indominus by helicopter, but when the Indominus breaks into the park's aviary to escape the gunfire, it releases a flock of the pterosaurs, Pteranodon and Dimorphodon, that collide with the helicopter, causing it to crash, killing Masrani and his troops. The pterosaurs then attack the resort itself. In the chaos, Zara is carried off by pterosaurs before falling into the park's lagoon and being devoured by the park's Mosasaurus. Gray and Zach eventually find Owen and Claire at the resort as armed personnel subdue the pterosaurs with tranquilizers. Assuming command, Hoskins orders that the raptors should be used to track the Indominus. Owen is forced to accept Hoskins' plan and release the raptors. Upon finding the Indominus, the dinosaurs begin communicating with one another. Owen realizes that the Indominus includes raptor DNA and it becomes the raptor pack's new alpha, taking command away from Owen. The Indominus escapes when the troops shoot at it, and the raptors hunt down and kill most of the team. Hoskins arranges for Dr. Henry Wu to leave the island by helicopter with the dinosaur embryos in order to protect his research. Owen, Claire, and the boys find Hoskins at the lab, with more staff packing up the remaining embryos. Hoskins reveals his plan to create other hybrid dinosaurs like Indominus for use as superweapons, but a raptor breaks in and mauls him to death. Owen reestablishes his bond with the raptors before the Indominus reappears. The raptors attack the Indominus but are killed. Claire lures the park's Tyrannosaurus Rex into a battle with the Indominus. The 2 dinosaurs fight, with the Indominus gaining the upper hand until Blue, the lone surviving raptor, joins the battle. Overwhelmed, the Indominus is backed up to the lagoon where the Mosasaurus leaps out and drags it underwater. The T-Rex retreats, followed by Blue, who turns to acknowledge Owen before leaving. Isla Nublar is once again abandoned and the survivors are successfully evacuated to the mainland. Zach and Gray are reunited with their parents while the T-Rex roams freely on Isla Nublar. A small team of mercenaries arrive on the abandoned Isla Nublar to collect DNA from the remains of the Indominus Rex at the bottom of the park's lagoon. After successfully collecting a bone fragment, the team's survivors barely escape the island following attacks by the Mosasaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex. A U.S. Senate hearing in Washington, D.C. debates whether Isla Nublar's dinosaurs should be saved from an impending volcanic eruption. Mathematician Dr. Ian Malcolm testifies that the dinosaurs should be allowed to perish to correct John Hammond's mistake of cloning them. Meanwhile, Jurassic World's former operations manager, Claire Deering, has established the Dinosaur Protection Group to save the animals. After the Senate rules against rescuing the dinosaurs, Hammond's former partner, Benjamin Lockwood, summons Claire to his Northern California estate. Lockwood and his aide, Eli Mills, reveal a plan to relocate the dinosaurs to a new island sanctuary. Claire is needed to help reactivate the park's dinosaur tracking system to locate the animals, particularly Blue, the last surviving velociraptor. Claire recruits Jurassic World's former velociraptor trainer and Blue's alpha, Owen Grady, to help capture her. On Isla Nublar, Claire and former park technician Franklin Webb reactivate the online tracking system. Owen, paleoveterinarian Zia Rodriguez, and a mercenary team led by Ken Wheatley search for and find Blue. The encounter escalates, resulting in a mercenary shooting Blue and Wheatley tranquilizing Owen. The mercenaries take Zia so she can treat Blue's injury. Their ship departs for the US mainland as the animals left behind die in the eruption. Claire, Franklin, and Owen sneak aboard in time and assist Zia in transfusing blood with Tyrannosaurus blood. The group now realize that the captured dinosaurs were never being transported to a new island and are for another purpose. At the estate, Lockwood's orphan preteen granddaughter Maisie overhears Mills and auctioneer Gunnar Eversole secretly planning to auction the captured dinosaurs on the black market. They will also unveil the Indoraptor, a new genetically modified dinosaur created by geneticist Dr. Henry Wu using Indominus Rex and Velociraptor DNA. Wu wants Blue's DNA to create an enhanced Indoraptor, unaware that Blue's blood is contaminated. After Maisie informs Lockwood about the auction, he confronts Mills, who murders him. Maisie is later revealed to have been cloned from Lockwood's deceased daughter and is the reason John Hammond, who opposed human cloning, ended their association. The dinosaurs are transported to Lockwood's estate and caged. Zia and Franklin narrowly evade capture, but Owen and Claire are apprehended and confined. Owen incites a Stiggy Moloch into breaking open their cell. They find Maisie, who leads them to the auction where the Indoraptor is being sold despite Wu's protests that it is a prototype. Owen disrupts the proceedings by luring the Stiggy Moloch into the room. In the ensuing chaos, Wheatley tranquilizes the Indoraptor to extract a tooth as a trophy, but it feigns sedation and escapes, killing him, Eversole, and others. The Indoraptor hunts Owen, Claire, and Maisie throughout the mansion. Zia releases Blue, who attacks the Indoraptor, causing it to fall through a glass roof to its death. When a hydrogen cyanide gas leak threatens the caged animals, Maisie is unable to let them die and frees them despite Owen's objections. The Tyrannosaurus devours Mills and tramples the Indominus bone, destroying it. Owen, Claire, Maisie, Zia, and Franklin safely escape, while Blue and the other released dinosaurs flee the estate grounds. In a new US Senate hearing, Dr. Malcolm declares the beginning of a Neo-Jurassic Age, where humans and dinosaurs must learn to coexist. The closing scenes show the freed dinosaurs roaming wilderness and outer urban areas.